I am Dr. Anissa Rogers. I am the chair director of the MSW program. Been at PLU a little over a year now. Love it. By the way, it's a really great institution. And this is Alex. Say
Hello.
hello. Our lovely and talented and fearless advisor for the grad program, who is here with us tonight to help with any questions that you might have. Welcome. I have been a social work educator for a very, very long time and have taught in several different institutions. And I also have a private practice. I do mental health therapy and absolutely love it. I do therapy mostly with older adults. And I do, if you're familiar with EMDR, it's for trauma processing. Absolutely love it. And with older adults, another passion of mine is end of life issues and grief and loss. So really enjoy doing that work. So I'm here to tell you some information about the MSW programs. Okay, so these are the programs that we have. We lovingly call them regular standing and advanced standing. Regular standing is a 24-month, 60 credit program. This program is for students who have no background in social work. So maybe your undergrad major was in psychology, sociology, accounting, what have you. You do need to have an undergrad GPA overall of 3.0 for the program. And I put a little asterisk there because if for some reason you don't have a GPA of 3.0, we still encourage you to apply. And when you write your personal statement, you'll want to talk about what your situation was that led to a lower GPA. Sometimes people have financial or caregiving or other issues pop up. So we want to know about that in your personal statement. The regular standing program starts each fall. And at PLU, we start generally right after Labor Day. And our capacity for the regular standing program each fall is approximately 18. Then we also have the advanced standing program. This is a 14-month, generally 36 credit hour. It's 40 if you've been out of school for a while. We ask you to do what's called a bridge course, but most students won't need to do that. So I'd say generally it's 36 credit hours, and this is for students who graduate with a social work degree. We call it a BSW generally, bachelor's in social work. So that senior year of your BSW program acts like the first year of an MSW program, and that's why it's advanced standing. It allows those students to jump over the first year right into the second year. So it's a shorter program. Same GPA requirement, and the advanced standing program starts each summer. So we start in June, very beginning of June, I think it is. And the capacity for our advanced standing students is approximately 12. I say approximately because it kind of depends on how many applicants we get for each program, and we try to even it out. We are limited to the total number of students we can accept each year, and it is limited by accreditation. This current year, we're limited to 30. Next year, it'll be 45-ish. We have to have a certain faculty to student ratio, and that's why we're limited on the number of students we can accept. So those are the two options. This is our program mission. I tried to summarize it and make it shorter. But just to give you the gist of this, PLU is a very special institution. If you're not familiar with it, it's very progressive, very social justice oriented, which is why I love it. And it's such a good fit for social work. But our goal is to prepare skilled, ethical, and professional service-oriented leaders and change agents who work toward just, equitable, and empowerment-based service provision, policies, and systems on both local and global levels. And the outcomes are to effectively affect policy. So social work deals a lot with social policy. Even if you feel like you're not a policy person, you'll end up working with it. We want our students to practice ethically and professionally, of course, and to provide advanced clinical social work services to individuals, families, and groups. So we are a clinical program, and our scope of practice is really individuals, families, and groups. But as I just said, even if that's the focus, you'll end up working at other levels like policy too, because it's all intertwined. You can't escape it no matter how hard you try. All right. So this is what the curriculum looks like. So you get a sense for the courses that you would be taking. So we are clinically focused. We're also focused on health and behavioral health because there is a real need for that in the Pierce County and Washington State area. But even so, even if you're like, you know what, health isn't my jam, you'll still get the tools that you need to work with any population or any issue, like criminal justice or schools or any of that. So that first year, if you are a regular standing student, you would start in what we call the generalist year. Generalist practice means you're getting kind of a foundational toolbox to work with any population or any problem. And that's what the senior year of the BSW program does for social work majors. So this first year, you're basically getting the curriculum of a senior BSW student. So you'd start out in the fall with a human behavior and social environment course that looks at human development and gives you a lot of theoretical background and social issue background that you need to practice. And then you'll take a social work theory and practice 1 course that focuses on individuals and families. So you look at theories that are particular to individuals and families and kind of how social work works through a process of working with folks. Then PLU, if you're not familiar, has what we call the January or J term. So it's just January and you do kind of an accelerated elective. What we're trying to do is offer kind of a menu of electives. And what I was trying to think is right now I'm offering elective on interventions with older adults and their families, and we'll be adding different kinds of electives. We're going to be, this is sort of an aside, we're getting a program approved to do a school social work add-on certificate. And in that certificate program, you can take some of those courses as electives. So there's, for example, suicide assessment and mandated reporting. There's a school social work course, a foundations of education course. So those will also be included in the electives, and you can pick up a certificate while you're at it. And then in spring, you do a social work theory and practice 2 course that focuses on groups, organizations and communities. So that's more macro practice. We call that macro practice. And then you start a practicum experience that I'll talk about in more detail in just a minute. But you start, so our generalist year folks start their practicum placements in spring. So this gives you a little time to get a little theory under your belt, get acclimated to what social work is before you start practicing. And then summer, you'll be doing a social work research methods course. You'll also do 1 more course, but that's on the next slide. So then when you start to enter into the second year, or for advanced standing, this would be your only year. We call it the specialist year. And this is because you start to specialize in health and behavioral health. So you really get into the weeds and become an expert, if you will, in this field. So you would pick up the anti-racism, diversity, and equity and social work practice course. And so advanced standing students start there. Regular standing are doing research methods and the ADEI course. This 535 Advanced Social Work Foundation course, that's what I was talking about with the bridge course. So that's for students who did a BSW, but they've been out of the field for quite some time and may have forgotten a lot. So this is like a refresher course for those folks. Then in fall, you'll take a social work and healthcare course. You will start your advanced practicum. And so you're really, you're basically providing social work services. And you'll pick up a social work elective. Then the following J term, you do a comparative healthcare course. And the super cool thing about this course is you get to study away if you are able. This coming January, we are going to Ecuador. I am leading that course. We'll be away for 10 days. So the beginning of January, we do a lot of reading, we meet, and then we take off to Ecuador for 10 days. It is covered in the cost of your tuition, which is super awesome. And you get to learn about healthcare and behavioral health in a whole different setting, whole different culture, different country. If for some reason you are absolutely not able to travel, maybe you've got caregiving issues, you've got work obligations, there's something else is going on, we do provide a local option for you so that you have kind of a equitable experience out in the community. So for example, folks, I think we have 2 folks who can't go to Ecuador. And the idea is to maybe travel to some tribal clinics. We're thinking about bringing in a shaman to talk about shamanic perspectives on health and behavioral health. So there will be some opportunities to have that comparative experience. And both the travel away, the study away, and the local people will come together, except for the time that we're traveling, so that we all get that comparative experience and get a similar experience. So that's super cool. I think next year, the plan is to go to Cuba. So that will be super exciting. Unfortunately, I won't be leading that, but that's okay. And then in spring, there's a mental health assessment and intervention course. And then you finish up with your 3rd practicum experience, advanced practicum experience. And then the final summer is a substance use disorder assessment and intervention class, and then a policy practice and advocacy in healthcare. So that's what the curriculum looks like. And then, as I mentioned, if you decide you want to pick up that school social work certificate, you can, there are 4 classes. They're considered continuing ed. So they're all online. They're pretty short. They're pretty cheap. And you can replace, if you're a regular standing, your 2 electives, you can replace those with that 2 certificate classes. And so then in the summer, your last summer, you take the additional 2 online and you've got a certificate if you want to do school social work. If you don't want to replace your electives, then you would just take those 4 courses in summer and potentially fall if you want to, but they're pretty easy to get through pretty rapidly. So that's something that we're working on offering for this next year, starting summer of 25. Okay, so let me just get into a little bit of the detail with the practicum. So the practicum, well, let me back up. Social work is accredited by an outside body, the Council on Social Work Education, which I'll mention in a minute. And CSWE calls the practicum our signature pedagogy in social work education, because what it's doing is offering students this opportunity to really integrate the classroom learning with practice experience. So really from the get-go, as a master's student, you are treated like an agency employee. You get placed in an agency of, you give some input into what your area of interest is and where you want to be placed. And then you really get to work and you learn how to do social work in those agencies. And so what the practicum includes are hours in an agency, and I can't remember if I put a slide in about the hours, but I'll get there. It also includes a seminar. So you're out doing hours in the agency, and then you would meet on a weekly basis to do a seminar. And that's where you get to, it's kind of process oriented. You get to talk about issues, how to apply theory, you know, what do I do when, how do I use supervision and those sorts of things, because you are supervised by a social worker in the agency. So that seminar is really your time to use to figure out how to do social work and how do I integrate all of this. So you're demonstrating your knowledge and a minimum level of competency necessary to enter professional practice. And by the way, a lot of practicum placements will end up hiring students at the end. So that's a bonus. Let's see, I might not have put the slide in, but I'll talk about that in a minute. So some examples would be, like, you could think about placements or social work in terms of issue area or the type of setting you might be in. So here you've got like schools, hospitals, behavioral health agencies. You could think of nonprofit, governmental. I mean, there's all kinds of different placements. And because we have that focus on health and behavioral health, we do have a lot of placements in hospitals and clinic settings. But then we have a lot of other kinds of placements. So, you know, criminal justice, nonprofits, like if you think about domestic violence shelters, that sort of thing. So it kind of is based on your interest, or it could be topic area. So maybe substance use disorders is something that really interests you. Could find some agencies around that, or end of life issues is your interest area. You might go to a hospice, for example. So lots of choice. Sometimes it's overwhelming. There's so many choices and so many different things that social workers do. Some of the things that you would be doing, if you're a regular standing student, that first spring placement, the generalist placement, you are really getting your feet wet. You would be doing things like case management, education, advocacy, those sorts of things. We wouldn't expect you to be doing therapy at that point. And your focus, because it's generalist, is you would be getting experiences on all levels, individual, families, groups, communities, organizations. By the time you hit your second year, you're going to be doing more of the diagnosis, more treatment groups, more mental health therapy, more advanced kinds of things. And you would be focused primarily on individuals, families, and groups, although you can branch out and learn more about policy analysis and those kinds of things, more macro types of skills. So you'll probably end up doing a wide range of things and really learning a lot of these skills, which makes you very marketable when you're done. So that's cool. Okay, I don't have a slide on this. I'm going to go back. I'll make myself a note to put this in here. But what the practicum ends up being is 320 hours per semester. And I think if I remember the math correctly, that's about 16 hours a week. And usually students can make that work if they're working full time. The other option that we give students is that if you are employed full time in an agency already, some kind of a social services agency, you can do your placement at your job site. We just need to make sure that you're getting new learning that, well, I shouldn't even say new learning, but that you're getting learning that helps you meet the competencies of the program. So we try to advocate on your behalf that you are learning some skills and getting some supervision around what you're learning so that you're not just doing your job, right? And you want to be picking up skills as you go. So we have a practicum coordinator, and she works with you on setting that up so that you get the most out of your practicum placement, because it really is a great experience. And a lot of times students will have their full-time job, maybe they'll cut back on some hours or get some flexibility, and then they'll do their practicum placement in a totally different agency so that they can pick up new skills. But there are a lot of considerations with that, and we try to help you work through that. So just wanted to let you know that was an option. We're also working on paid placements. They're hard to come by, as you might imagine, but we're getting some, so that's helpful. All right. Okay, accreditation. So I'd mentioned the Council on Social Work Education. Undergrad, so BSW and MSW programs are accredited by CSWE that's the acronym. And where we are in our process, it's a 3-year process to get initial accreditation. So it takes time, and CSWE works with programs that are starting up like ours. We're starting our first year. They time it so that we have students start at a particular time and they're grandfathered in, so that it's likely, particularly, trying to think, we'll have our initial accreditation, I think, in 2026. So we've already started the process. We've already been, we're a year in, we've got 2 more years to go. But because advanced standing students go through in a year, we want to be educating students while we're in the process. And so all the students admitted fall 24 or later can say that you've graduated from an accredited program. So licensing boards, and this really matters for licensing boards. Accreditation is important for a lot of reasons, to make sure that we're meeting certain competencies and standards. But most states say that you need to graduate from an accredited program to get licensed. And so everybody who started the program this fall can say they've graduated from an accredited program. So it's a little convoluted. I don't want to get too much in the weeds, but there's a reason why we do it this way. So you can feel confident that you'll be okay in terms of licensing. Pretty common thing to have happen with programs. And the benefits of an MSW degree, you can pursue different state licenses depending on your interest. Different states do licensure differently. Oregon, for example, where I practiced for a long time and I'm licensed there, in Washington State, they have different levels of licensing for social workers. Some are for folks who don't do clinical practice. We have that in Washington too. And then there's in Washington, it's called the LICSW. That allows you to do clinical practice. You can do private practice. You can bill insurance with that. So we help you in the last practicum seminar to learn about licensing and get your resume together and how to pursue that. So generally, and states will differ on their rules on how many hours you have to have post graduation to get your license. Most states say it's about 3,000 hours, which is about 2 years full time under supervision, and then you take an exam and you get licensed. But again, the process differs depending on the state you're going to be in. But that licensure opens up all kinds of doors. It's awesome. So I think this might be changing, but as of now, like to bill Medicare or to work in hospice, you have to be a social worker. It's political, but they say, licensed professional counselors who have psych degrees cannot do that. So there are benefits there. As a private practitioner, I'm on different insurance panels. I can bill insurance companies because I'm licensed. When I say job opportunities are endless, I really mean that. There are so many things you can do in social work. It would take me all night to tell you everything there is to do. A lot of MSW or master's level social workers end up being administrators. You're the supervisors, you're developing programs, you are doing clinical work, you're doing policy work, admin work, all kinds of things. And the job market is, I don't know, I want to say like, it's too bad we need social workers, of course, but we really need them out there. And like a lot of fields, we're seeing a lot of social workers retire. And so there's gaps to fill with new social workers. So right now the job market is, the whole prospect is really good. It's really strong. So, and there are lots of things that you can do. So benefits, they're awesome. Let's just leave it at that. So talking about the modality of our program, most of our classes are hybrid, and this is to minimize the travel time that our students have to make to get to campus. And so our classes meet on Wednesdays from 4 to 8:15 p.m. And then the rest of your contact hours or your work will be done synchronously on Mondays from 4 to 8:15, assuming that the instructor wants to do that. If they're not done synchronously, then they're asynchronous. So as an example, right now I teach the Theory and Methods 1 course. We meet on Wednesdays from 4 to 6. And then I have students do a lot of their work asynchronously outside of class so that we use that class time for discussion and practice and those sorts of things. You get a half-hour break, you jump into your second class on Wednesdays, and you do the rest of the work for that class asynchronously. And right now I'm also teaching an elective for the advanced standing students, and it is completely asynchronous. We don't meet at all. Students do the work on their own. So that's what it looks like. And that is so that you have the rest of the time to work, to do your practicum, and to not be sitting in your car, I guess is the best way to put that. And yeah, I'm anticipating that most of our electives will be offered asynchronously too. This is our faculty group right now. Everyone on this list teaches across the BSW and MSW, across the programs, and we're going to be hiring another person this coming year to start next September. So we'll have yet another person. Maria Carrington is our practicum coordinator, And she's the one who will work with you on your practicum application, getting set up and all of that good stuff. So I think today she told me we've got around 34 practicum options, which is awesome. So it gives you a lot of choice, and I'm sure more will come online. So these are the application requirements. You'll need to create your PLU app at this link. And what you're going to do is go in there, select your program on page 2, and you're going to choose the MSW, either advanced standing or regular standing. And then you'll submit your required supporting documents. And this includes transcripts, letters of recommendation, and a personal statement. There are some prompts that we ask you to respond to around social work values and what brings you to the field. For PLU students and grads, obviously you don't need your transcripts because we have them and there's no application fee there. So, and then here are our application dates. We do have 3 priority deadlines, December 1st being the first, and then February 1st and March 15th. And so what happens is after each priority deadline, the faculty will review the applications and accept those folks who we feel will be a good fit with the program. And if all spots are filled and you don't make it until the second priority deadline, then we'll start a wait list on that. And what you want to do is make sure you're checking your email on a regular basis, because your acceptance, correct me if I'm wrong, Alex, will come through email. So you want to follow all the instructions there. We may ask for an interview if we have questions about your application, you know, so we might want to meet you and ask a few more questions, but otherwise you'll just follow the steps in that email to accept your admission, pay the deposit, and register for courses. And then we'll have an orientation for you that you'll want to attend. And a second here, I'm stuck. There we go. All right, and this is what the timeline looks like, is you'll submit your application by the priority deadline. We typically are able to review the applications within 2 weeks after that deadline. And then we get back to you relatively quickly about your acceptance status. And then, as I mentioned, follow the instructions in your acceptance letter and pay attention to your email. And then, Alex, I wasn't quite sure on the enroll dates. I took a stab at this because advanced standing, you're starting in the summer. You'll probably be registering around March. I'm not sure. And then for regular standing, since you're not starting till September, I seem to recall it was around April that we wanted you to register. So here are the start dates. For advanced standing, it's June 2nd, and for regular standing, September 3rd. So there's a little bit of gap. We'll have 2 orientations. And we did schedule these the other day, but I can't remember. So June, I think our orientation for advanced standing is like the last week of May, and then for regular standing is going to be the last week of August. So you'll want to pay attention to those deadlines. Here is the cost. This is the cost for next year. Regular standing is $53,160 for the 60 credits. Advanced standing is $31,896, and that's for the 36 credits. And there is some financial aid available. We do have some internal MSW scholarships. They're not huge, but every little bit helps. These are competitive scholarships that we have you apply for, and they're for students who demonstrate a commitment to ADEI. So that's really important to our program. We do also have alumni scholarships that you can apply for. And then we have some community-based scholarships that are available to students. They're changing, so that's why I say community-based. Up until this year, they were called the Balmer Scholarship, and that was a private scholarship, and it was a full ride scholarship for students who would commit to doing their placements in certain community-based agencies, mostly Medicaid. types of agencies. So underserved agencies and populations is what that was for. And then students had to commit to working in those agencies for a little bit of time afterwards, but really generous scholarships. That money has run out, but I think the state is going to fill that gap. And so we're waiting to learn more about what those scholarships will look like, but I anticipate they'll look very similar to that. So it's really, you know, students who want to commit to certain types of agencies and populations. So we also, of course, if you're military, you can work with your commanders. I know there are different kinds of programs in the military to also fund the program. So there's some options there. Also on our website, although I think it needs to be updated, the National Association of Social Workers offers some scholarships to students, and those are really underutilized. A lot of our students don't go for those, so I would recommend doing that. I'm making myself a note to update that. So there are some options out there to fund your education. And I also know that Washington State has quite a few grants that we don't even, you know, necessarily have to be involved in, that you can apply for. So those are really good options. Behavioral health in particular is a field that a lot of states are really trying to get more social workers into, and so they're willing to fund those through state initiatives. Wow, I think that's it. For my part, got through that pretty quickly. Do we have any questions from folks?
We have one in the question and answer section. What is the cohort size for the regular standing program?
So it's going to be, I mean, we can be flexible on numbers. It's probably not going to go over 20. Right now it's 15, and it's an awesome group. It's perfect size, and our advanced standing is 14. And so it'll probably be around, I would guess, 15 to 18 students.
And then what has been the typical acceptance rate?
Well, I can't say it's typical because we just started. So what I can say is folks who are, I mean, it depends, right? Like I'm guessing the second year we're going to have more applications and we just won't have the spots. And what I would say is that what we noticed with the applicants for this year, they were awesome. A lot of people who apply to MSW programs they know they're a good fit. And so our applicants tend to be really awesome. And if we have the spots and you're, you know, a good fit for it, you know, just in terms of the value base, and you're really passionate, we're going to do everything we can to accept you, because we want you in the field. Absolutely. We're looking for really passionate, great advocates who can do this work. So it's hard to say. We don't have a typical yet, but as our program grows, I think it'll be more competitive. It just will be, because as I mentioned, we're limited by CSWE in terms of how many students. If it were up to me and everybody was a good fit, I'd let everybody in, but but we can't. So yeah, but right now it's pretty good because our program's new. So you have a good shot. Do feel free to reach out to me directly. You can, email's probably best. I forget to check my voicemail in my office, but feel free to leave a message. I do check. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have. You can also reach out to graduate admissions. So you've got our emails and numbers. We're happy to help you with you know, the application process, or any additional questions that you might have about the program or what social workers do, the difference, because I think that's a tough decision, right? You know, which field to go into. I know I struggled with it and switched. So I always say I do things the hard way, but I'm glad I did what I did. But there are some differences, and I'd be happy to try to talk you through that and help you think about what's the best route for you. So don't hesitate at all to reach out if you have questions. But thank you for being here. And I hope you apply. Yay.